like I say, there is Two Tone Tommy and a bunch of other guys, and like I say, a lot of these films, a lot of these videos that they show, they were actually done. Initially, they were done earlier in time, and then and also JFK and Nixon did some other stuff to try and kind of confuse things a little bit. Like I said, a lot of the real history or whatever was kind of like erased and destroyed. Like I say, some black people blame me for what happened. It actually wasn't me. It was, some other people, Germans, Irishmen, uh, some Japanese, a bunch of people. Like I said, back in the olden days of yore, as they say, aircraft have been around for a lot longer than most people know. And also, we've actually had quite a bit of technology longer than most people know. In fact, we had nuclear bombs back in like around 1100 or so. Anyway, I was using them in 1812 at the Panama Canal and all that kind of stuff. So we actually were fairly advanced back then and had a lot of stuff. Anyway, there was this really bad black man. And he was going around saying he was God and he was this and he was that and he was Harlan Wolf and he owned the Titanic and he owned this country and owned that country. And he was a real bad guy. Real bad. He would rape, he would kill, he had no regard for anyone who is white. He tried to starve out the people at the Hoover Dam or whatever, that dam project. He killed a bunch of people. He starved out the whites. He called it the Black Canyon because he was black. And basically, he did everything he could, to destroy the stock market and destroy everything that was good and right. And he bombed cities. There was a lot of nuking that happened before that was hundreds of years ago that was erased and removed, and basically it led to pretty much my death or something like that. He was a really, really, really like the worst of the blacks, basically. Him and 20 other black men. Anyway, made basically Nixon and everyone else look like a saint compared to him. Basically. Like Nixon and Jimmy and John McCain looked like good people compared to this other guy. This other black guy was really, really bad. He didn't care about anything or anyone. Like I said, they would rape children. It didn't really matter. Harlan Wolf, it didn't. He would just shoot people and kill them. Anyway, really, 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 really bad person. So anyway, he got, when they finally did take him down, it took about 150 to 300 people to take him down, or 1,000 good Irishmen to take him down, basically. And quite a few Germans, basically. They had to raid this guy's complex and take him down, and they finally did actually take him alive. And it was very, 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 very hard to actually do it. But they took him alive, and when they were done, because, so many people had died and everything else that I think they decided that they wanted to get this guy. Although, normally I'd just say shoot him in the head. Anyway, though, they ended up grabbing this guy after all his friends, after everyone that was with him was dead or basically turned on him. And no one really liked him anyway. It's just that he was that, I don't know what the deal was with him. Anyway, they nailed him in a box full of cockroaches. They built him a really, really, he actually had a really nice coffin already made for him. He had made a really nice coffin for him. He had no regard for women either. He would chain a woman to the floor and all that stuff. I don't think he liked to watch the life leave their eyes like Jimmy Carter, but he was still really bad. And anyway, though, but he would kill women all the time. It didn't really matter. I think he was probably one of the people that liked to split young girls open, wide, like shove it in and see how much he could split a young 6-year-old girl open. Really, really, really bad person. He would just grab women and anyway, really, really bad. No one liked him. Everyone hated him. And basically, he had this really nice ornate coffin already made. So they poked a couple of holes in it or drilled or cut a hole for air and stuff and put some bars or whatever. He kept on trying to stick his head through, so eventually they put like a screen over or something like that. Anyway, though, they filled it full of cockroaches, or at least cockroaches got in there anyway. And I think they filled it full of cockroaches first. He was one of the people that was responsible for throwing the Japanese, back in the old days, if you did anything wrong, or what, I think they would normally do this to young children. They would just throw them inside of a pit full of garbage and cockroaches. Like the cockroaches and rats would crawl inside is this garbage pit. And what they would do, there was these big garbage pits, big stone garbage pits back in the old days, and they would throw garbage in there, and they would also throw in like Chinese girls and stuff like that. There were these pits back in China, and I forget what they were. I think they were just pit. You would think they would fill up. I think they put rotting food or rotting garbage, the kinds of stuff that would rot in there. I don't really understand the purpose of them really. Anyway, they would have drain pipes at the bottom and stuff like that. And basically they were drains out into the ocean. And they should clog up relatively easy. I think they were just torture pits basically. Anyway, there were these big wooden grates or grates on the top, and they would lift it off. And there was this big stone pit going down quite a ways, and you would usually break your leg or basically die. Normally if people got thrown in there, they would just die. But if you did happen to live, and a lot of people did actually live, because after a while there was enough garbage on the bottom that would kind of cushion you when you hit, or other dead rotting bodies. Basically, when you fell in, you'd crush a body basically, and you'd live pretty much. Anyway, there were these pits, and they would throw women in, and like I say, back in those days, cockroaches would crawl up inside their orifices and lay their eggs, and then they would crawl out. Like I say, this was one of the guys that was responsible for that kind of stuff. Anyway, so they felt it fitting that he should be nailed shut inside of his own coffin, full of cockroaches, because So he actually lasted in there for about a month and a half. He was a black guy, and he was a rather nasty person, and he was responsible for a lot of that stuff. He was going around saying he was God and he was rich, and he had done all this lies and all this careful stuff to get into power, and he was a psycho person. Anyway, people had thought he was a nice person, and he had basically done this thing pretty much. Anyway, it ended around 18 something or other is when it started crashing down around him, and we had to pound him into the ground pretty much. And then we took him alive and we put him inside a room, and then like I said, they were doing some work outside in the yard, jackhammering and stuff. There was a clogged drain or something like that, and they're actually getting a little superstitious about it. I bet it's because of that guy. And when he started hollering, he said, I'm in here, get me out of here. And he started talking about how he was gonna kill everyone and rape their women like he used to do, or install this kind of stuff. And I think that's about when they decided just to end it. I think they put him in the ground and finally poured sand or concrete on top of him, basically, to shut him up, because they got tired of his yelling and screaming. And the cockroaches were becoming a problem for the rest of the factory. They were multiplying quite a bit, even though he was in a sealed room. So, anyway, but they would crawl. As soon as you opened the door, they would crawl out. Like, even they didn't want to be around him. Anyway, though, this was what was down around there in 1920 or so in Belfast or whatever. Anyway, he was, I don't know. He was a tough old guy, I guess you could say. Anyway, though, so they eventually just poured concrete on top of him. Anyway, he said he'll be back, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, though, he'll never be back. Not if I haven't had anything to say about it. Anyway, though, so yeah. Anyway, that was basically one of the horrible things that the LS Lucifer star actually, well, it wasn't really me, but, I was like, when they told me about what had happened, because they're like, we just want you to know what we did. And I was like, okay, yeah, he deserved it. I don't care. I was like, yeah, I don't really care. In fact, I think you need a raise. Anyway, though, yeah. But basically, I think he was responsible for the trash pits with the women from China, because they would take Chinese girls or some girls, and they would throw them in there. They would throw guys. There were some really, 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 really psycho people back in the past. Anyway, that were really, really horrible. So, anyway, he was one of them, and there was others, at least as far as I know. So, anyway, I'm sorry to say that the black people would have such a horrible leader, but he was horrible even to black people, though. No one liked him. No one cared about him by the time he was done. Just that everyone thought he was a good guy for a long time. He was just really psycho about his lies and secrets. So anyway, when the truth came out, when people started finding out, because like I said, film actually changed the world quite a bit, because things could be filmed and remembered. So, and he started to use that to his own benefit for a while there, and fooling the public. Anyway, it came out, when they did live TV and stuff like that. A lot of things came out when the projectors and film recorders came out.